Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to have a little fun and talk about what I see the meta potentially looking like once Dromai hits the eventual living legend here soon. I think the meta is going to open up even more so than it already has, which is crazy to see. Some heroes that were, had a really bad Dromai matchup and just kind of had to maybe even concede the matchup or, not worry about it as much. Hopefully they dodge it, are going to get a lot better. Some heroes are going to get slightly worse because they preyed on Dromai in a very good way. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to have some fun with it, do like a little mini tier list, I guess, and then get your thoughts as a community as we head into the Misfail set. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-staying supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out my Discord down below. Discord's growing amazingly, doing really well, trying to knock on the door to 600 members, which is really cool. And if you have been a long-standing supporter for the channel and you want to support maybe in a different way, you can look at the channel membership down below. There's 3 tier levels, different giveaways for each one. Really helps support, get to events, get product for the streams, do giveaways, stuff like that. So we'll get right into it. I will bring it up here. But it's just a normal tier list, nothing crazy. What I wanted to do was I wanted to say like what heroes get better, what heroes don't have much of a change, and what heroes get worse with Dromai eventually hitting Living Legend. I've had people in the comments ask me why I have the LL bar every time. It's just because if I keep the LL heroes in this, then I can use it for a Living Legend tier list, and I just have it like for everything. So that's why they're there. But we're going to put Dromai in Living Legend. Right now, Dromai is set to LL the next event she wins. She's 4 points away, so she technically needs to win 2 Proquests. But there is a calling before Proquest even starts. So unless all Dromais just make a collective agreement to never play her again, which, hey, the illusionist players and stopping play when they get close to 1,000. No, I'm just kidding. Unless that happens, then she's literally going to go at the latest the first week of Proquest season. So what does the meta look like with her gone? So let's talk about who gets better first. There's 2 classes, or actually a class and a hero in particular that I think get better with her leaving. The one class that gets better, and I think is the biggest class that gets better by far, is Assassin. Uziri and Arachne both get far better because that was a really, really bad matchup for them. Uziri was a little bit more winnable, but overall, I think that they, as a class, just get better. Obviously, this is not counting if Misfail, if Enigma ends up changing that. All of this, like all these opinions, are pre-Misfail during Proquest season for the most part. But yeah, Assassin, I think it's the best. They really don't have to worry about that. Now they can really just tech into like Guardian and Kano if they want to, even though Kano's still a little rough. But I think that this, if you had to pick anybody or anything that gets better from Dromai leaving the most, it's definitely Assassin. What else gets better? Azalea gets a lot better, I think. Yes, Guardian's still a rough matchup for her, but she gets a lot better just because that was usually a rough matchup for her. It was definitely winnable, but it was a matchup she had to really care about. And now if she doesn't want to, in my opinion, she doesn't have to run like the 9 of Bolton shot. She can run like a more go tall list if she wants to, or a more disruptive list. She doesn't have to worry about necessarily going wide all the time because the Bolton shots were really impactful into Dromai's Dragons. So that's another one that gets better to me. Who else gets better? Honestly, those are the main ones. Oh, one more. Sorry. The one big one that gets better is Prism. Prism, I had heard rumblings that Prism players had gotten the Dromai matchup to winnable. It used to be like near auto loss. Now it's just like they got it to where it just was unfavored. I don't know. But regardless, Prism gets a lot better. I think next to Assassin, she gets the best out of everybody. She really improves from not having to deal with Dromai. She still has to have a heavy popper meta, but good Prism players have found ways to get around that. And I think that you'll see a lot more of her in Proquest season perform very, very well. So that's a big one. When you kind of going down the list here, those are like the obvious ones I saw. We'll put the Misfail here as I added them. We'll put them at the end so we don't confuse ourselves. But now we talk about like Betsy, no change. Betsy's kind of hard anyway. I guess she technically gets better because she probably didn't have a good Dromai matchup, but the hero is so irrelevant at the moment. I can't really give a grade on it. Bolton definitely gets better. I think that Dromai, from my understanding, was a rough matchup for Bolton, and it was one of his worst matchups, and so him getting better with that really helps him out. So I could see him getting better. Bravo, really no change. That matchup was so funny from what I've heard. Like, Bravos will tell you it's favored, then Dromai's tell you it's favored, so I don't think Bravo really changes too much. Dash doesn't really change. I think she had a decent Dromai matchup depending on what the build was, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But she's really a no change. Dorinthia technically gets better because Hatchets is even easier now. Hatchet Dorinthia is actually going to be a real deck, I think, and Dawnblade both. So I think that she overall gets better as a hero. The biggest ones that get worse technically are ninjas. They really preyed on Dromai, especially Katsu really preyed on Dromai's. And now decks can go a lot more tankier, a lot more defensive. They don't have to worry about going as wide, like, and more disruptive. Like, they can run, they don't have to have as many tools in their kit to be able to deal with dragons, which typically means going wider, and they can be more defensive. And normally that's not a good thing for ninjas. So I think that's the biggest class that gets worse from Dromai leaving. Another one that gets significantly better from Dromai leaving the format is Kasai. She's actually up here, probably like with Prism, if not above Prism. Like, if I had to add one more, let's add one more row below. Like, this is significantly gets better, right? And this is improved slightly, right? I think these three heroes improve slightly, but it's not like insane. And then these four right here significantly get better with Dromai leaving the format. Then you have Kano. I think Kano is definitely no change. From what I've heard, that matchup was a coin flip anyway. So, nothing crazy there. KO, I still one of the best decks in the format, right? Doesn't really change. Its Dromai matchup was, favored, but also it was losable. I think all the brutes really don't change. All of them kind of had their own decent matchup in the Dromai. But with aggro going down, right, or not aggro specifically, but ninja going a little bit worse with Dromai leaving and maybe not be as represented potentially, you could see the brutes rise a little bit. Max, I'm assuming gets a little bit better just because that was probably a slightly rough matchup for Max, just to deal with board state and be able to work to his eventual game plan. Olympia gets slightly better. All the Warriors get slightly better. Riptide definitely gets better. So as you can see, a lot of heroes just slightly improve. Heroes that basically had a hard time dealing with board state, or had to play really perfectly to deal with the board state. Like, these three had to play to their tip-top shape to deal with the board state, and these three just couldn't deal with it at all. So they all get slightly better, and then Kasai and Prism are like the ones that really get a lot better. Tech Levossin gets infinitely better, even though it's still probably not as relevant of a deck. Victor, not much of a change. Viserai actually, from what I've heard, isn't too bad in a Dromai, right? Vincent, no change. I just don't see Vincent being a decent hero. But this is kind of where I'm sitting at. So, like, the main decks to get worse, in my opinion, I just wanted to get through them so I could talk about them, is Ninja. It gets worse. I don't think the actual meta positioning of Ninja gets worse. I just think that you don't have as, now Ninja is pretty much either 50-50 or unfavored in the most matchups. Like, it's just a lot harder now, right? You don't have, I wouldn't say Dromai is a free win, it's not, but you don't have like the fallback of, okay, I might face a quarter of my matchups might be Dromai, and if I have a game plan and I draw well, I'm pretty favored in that, right? You don't have that safety net, I guess is the best way to put it anymore. So because of that, like, they're going to get a little worse. All of these heroes, no change. Really, the Guardians and the Brutes are the biggest ones. They don't really change to me that much. And Kano, right? They're all in that same group of, like, they're just decent and they don't really change. And then the same thing with Dash and Viserai, and then Betsy Vincent are just kind of whatever. The decks that get slightly better are the ones that either had to play perfectly to deal with the board state, or, couldn't quite deal with it. The ones that had to play perfectly were these three: Bolton, Dorinthia, Azalea, and the ones who just couldn't deal with it were Max, Olympia, and Riptide. All of those get slightly better. And the biggest winners are Tech Levossin, if a Tech Levo even gets better at some point. But the 4 really biggest winners, if I can put Teklo down here just to not confuse people, are these 4 right here. I think if I had to give a guess on which heroes will maybe not win a bunch of ProQuest, because I think Asai and Prism will, but will be a lot more represented and a lot safer to bring to a ProQuest. I think it's Assassin players, Kasai players, and Prism players. I think those are the 4 that get the best out of everyone. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with these misfill heroes, but for now, in ProQuest season, this is kind of where I see everything going. But yeah, I just want to throw this up there and give my general thoughts. It's more just a platform for you all to give me your opinions as well. If you feel like any of these are in a different category, definitely let me know. I'm not as versed on the play of every single hero. I'm just going through what I think is on the matchup, and how that works out. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not, me is totally fine. Go to another Flesh and Blood creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good one.